So do you know what PBT is?
It is a type of plastic that the synthetic lash extensions are made out of.
Yeah, exactly. So like all of these lashes that we have, plus all those other ones, they're all made from PBT. I guess like understanding PBT is something that we never really focused on that much before in terms of retention. Like what did we focus on in retention?
Humidity, adhesive,
Primer.
primer.
We've really never considered how the material of lash extensions affects retention. It's never really been discussed. So my goal with this was to kind of educate lash artists who are maybe looking to start up their own brand, or trainers, or just lash artists who are looking for a higher level of education, to give them some of the material that I know, and
an understanding of what
exactly
role the PBT plays.
Yeah. Okay. So let me go through this presentation and we'll stop after each slide. Just have a little discussion.
Okay.
So it says, let's discuss butylene and terephthalate, because for lash artists, this knowledge is indispensable. This thermoplastic polyester serves as the primary material for the majority of eyelash extensions. Despite its prevalent use in the lash production, what truly matters for lash artists is comprehending how the quality of PBT influences lash retention. Have you ever purchased lashes from one manufacturer? So this is something that we could totally chat about. Like, remember like 6 years ago when we started like importing lashes, and like how they all changed so much? We'd have some fibers that were so perfect. Like they were so soft and like they were fantastic. But then we'd also have other ones that were super hard.
Yeah.
And when we first started offering eyelash extensions, people were so surprised that the lashes didn't hurt. They were like, these ones, I can't feel them at all. It feels like, it feels like natural fibers. Yeah. So that has everything to do with the quality of the PBT. Several factors contribute to this quality, including the grade of the PBT, the raw fibers, formulation involving additives or fillers. So that PBT material that we talk about for lash extensions, that gets put into a formulation. So raw PBT is generally not used. What they do is they add components to it, different chemicals that either help with keeping that curl retention or help make it softer. These facilities, they create the PBT that they want. Our issue is the minimum amount of moisture content present, right? So let's move on here. We're going to talk about moisture content in PBT. Cyanoacrylate, the main ingredient in our lash adhesives, it thrives on moisture, as you know. For proper curing with moisture content in natural eyelashes, they're typically around 10%. So the moisture content on our natural lashes, around 10%. So if you think about it with lash adhesive, we know that that loves moisture. So if you're applying adhesive to a synthetic lash, and then you're applying that synthetic lash to the natural lash, it's clearly going to bond more to that natural lash because of the moisture content, right?
Moisture protects moisture.
Yep. This PBT, on the other hand, so we have our natural lash here, then we have the glue here, and then we have this PBT fiber on top. That does not draw in moisture at all. And it's also not very porous like our natural lashes. You know how our natural lashes, their cuticles open up and it allows for more space for the adhesive to flow to, and it allows for a better bond. PBT does not have that capability. So since adhesive relies on moisture, the lack of moisture in PBT can lead to issues. Now let's revisit the contrast between hard and soft lashes, which we just did. Hard lashes with lower moisture content are prone to dryness, making soft PBT lashes outlast their stiffer counterparts. So that's like, I think it was with Glam Queen with you, one of the original lashes that we have. You know how soft they are. Those fibers are like so thin and they're like flexible. They hold their curl. So you find that your retention is far better with those.
Yeah, phenomenal. Better than honestly any other lash I've tried.
Because they're such good quality. And those fibers mimic like the natural lash more. So they probably have a higher concentration of moisture within that PBT material. Given that our natural lashes possess significantly more water content than synthetic ones, I recommend that students, and I know you do too, use a hydration primer. I know we formulated a Hydro Prime with a previous business, and now we're looking at adjusting that formulation and making sure that not only does it work for natural lashes, but it also works for the synthetic lashes to be able to make that compatible with the adhesive. The hydration primer will be available soon. It's not right now. We're still going through some of the packaging, etc., but we will have that available. This boosts the water content, aligning it more closely with the adhesive and creating compatibility between both substrates. So just reflecting on substrates, when I use that term, I mean the two substrates that are the natural lashes and the synthetic lash, and then those would be the two substrates and the adhesive in between. So remember, the natural lash is different than the synthetic lash in so many ways, and then we have the glue in between. Consider using a lash primer that not only moisturizes the natural lashes, but also possesses a mildly alkaline pH. So if you're not familiar with pH, that is potential hydrogen. That is measured in products that have a moisture content. So it's really like irrelevant with PBT because, like I said, there's like less than one. Exactly, like 1% or less moisture in it. With lashes, we said 10% moisture content there. So how does that influence retention? Just like think, like how do you think? You guys got to record this again. That's fine. But how does that influence retention? If you think about it, your natural lash here, 10% moisture. Then you have your cyanoacrylate that loves moisture here, and then you have that substrate on top, that natural or the synthetic lash. So you're dipping the lash into the, and I'm thinking about this with you, but I'm not sure. Dipping that synthetic lash that doesn't have any moisture content into an adhesive that loves moisture. So it's not going to cure, which is probably somewhat beneficial if you're a slow lash artist because you don't want that to cure right away.
It's going to absorb into the moisture properties in the natural lash.
Exactly.
But not the synthetic where it's...
it won't. So if you were new to lashing, you probably wouldn't want to put primer or hydration primer on that because that would speed up that process. However, if you're experienced and you find that, hey, I'm not being able to bond that lash quick enough by adding a little bit of the hydration primer to the base, creates a moisture content for that PBT, dipping it into the adhesive, has that moisture property there, and then placing it on the natural lash. Allows for better bond. You're not waiting so long, right?
Yeah,
makes sense.
Therefore, it bonds quicker.
Okay, the natural lash and the synthetic lash, which is composed of a polymer with minimal water absorption. It's noteworthy that the natural lashes tend to have a slightly acidic pH. So kind of like our skin, 4.5 to 5.5, our skin is slightly acidic. And what happens with our skin when it becomes on the higher side of the pH, it becomes dry and cracked. With lashes, it's the same kind of thing. We have basically similar pH, sometimes the exact same, sometimes a slight difference between it with our lashes and our skin.
So the pH in your skin and your lashes are usually
similar. Yeah.
If not the same.
Yeah. Okay. Both very on the like acidic side of things. So you have neutral pH at 7, which is like water. Okay. When you look at just regular, not look at it, but when you test regular water, it's 7. And then it goes downwards to the acidity and then upwards to the alkalinity. Yeah. So why we want alkaline natural lashes is because that creates the porosity, right? Which is, if you have a new client, their lashes are probably not very porous. So you definitely want to use an alkaline primer on them. If you have a client that sees you regularly, that probably gets lash lifts and tints, has chemical exposure to their lashes are probably quite porous. It may not be necessary to use an alkaline primer on them.
Just where your lashes are essentially used to.
Exactly. So when you think about that cuticle that you have, this is your natural lash, those little flakes here on top all around your lashes, those cuticles, they open up. And when they open up, they just create space for the adhesive to go in. They create like little pockets almost. And then when you put that synthetic lash on top, there's more adhesive there, but it's not like caked on the way that if you use too much adhesive, you know? So I'm just thinking now. So maybe there should be something different with clients that get lashes done regularly, maybe they won't need an alkaline primer that's so intense. Maybe they need something a little bit more neutral.
Yeah.
And then for the PBT material, that needs an alkaline based primer. So maybe we could have like two different primers, right? One for the natural lashes and then one for the PBT fibers.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So while lash glue typically has a neutral pH, so that's the other thing. So lash glue normally has a neutral pH, so somewhere around 7. Then we have lashes that are acidic underneath. And then we have our PBT that is nothing, but the idea is to create more of an alkaline. Erase that part, we don't need that part. So natural lashes can facilitate the opening of the cuticle, increasing its porosity by introducing moisture for better adhesion of the lash glue. Similarly, applying a hydrating alkaline primer on the synthetic lash aids in this process. Now let's discuss the formulation of materials used in eyelash extensions. Some common characteristics or additives. So like we talked about earlier, when you have the PBT material, manufacturers will add chemicals into it or change it so that PBT looks, feels, is able to hold a certain shape, that it performs a certain way. That's what changes between different lash trays. So things that would include would be like the curl retention agents, you know how it is when you have lash.
That lose their curl over time.
They say something about, we've like tried lashes before that looked really curly, and then as they get wet and they're exposed to properties and stuff, they start to straighten out. And then your client who has really long lashes, the big curl ends up having, say something.
Yeah, so over the years we've definitely, tried a lot of different types of lashes, different brands, different materials. And some, in comparison to others, they look great at first. They hold the curl, they look lovely.
That double D curl.
Yeah, that double D curl. And then they come back for their fill and the curl has dropped.
Yeah.
And it's just,
doesn't look good.
It doesn't look as good. It's just.
And it's like those longer lengths end up straightening out and then being like going down in the eye.
Yeah, and that's,
So that's one thing. Curl agents, color pigments. Sometimes lashes fade. That has to do with the additives in it. Softening agents, which we talked about, the hard and soft. Anti-static agents and UV stabilizers. So a lot of PBT material will actually have additives in it that protect the eyes from UV.
Okay.
So rather than where they're black, they have an ingredient in it that prevents that from irritating the actual eye itself.
Yeah, and to look more into materials, I know that there was a lot of times that we had ordered them and some are like matte in comparison to glossy, and like the look is just so dramatically different.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what are
the differences with that? So the PBT itself is actually white. So polybutylene terephthalate is a white material. It's because we add pigment to it that changes it. That's why, how that sometimes when we do like colored lashes, they seem to have really good retention.
They stay so much longer.
Yeah, and I wonder,
what is this?
Is it because it's natural PBT
or have any additives?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
We'll have to come back to that one. Our paramount and compliance with relevant safety standards is essential. So moving on, manufacturing standards. I think it's really important that if you are a lash company that imports lash extensions or you're thinking about doing it, to make sure that the manufacturer that you go with has really good manufacturing processes and procedures. Because if not, then you're going to end up with, products that have ingredients that are fillers that don't really provide anything for you. And that's not just with lashes. It's like with, liquid products, adhesives, primers. Make sure the manufacturer that you go with has those GMPs in place.
Consistency is a big thing too when it comes to manufacturers. You can get one tray that, is perfect. In comparison to another, it could be completely different. And I'm talking about like lengths, curls, diameter,
And I think that was one of the biggest issues we had with pre-made fans. When we looked at importing pre-made fans, and we did with a previous company, it was like those bases were not as snatched, or they weren't as long, or, there were just so many issues
Different
with
factors,
it.
that came to play.
Yeah, but like finding that manufacturer that is dedicated to consistency is so vital to that. But I think we're getting off topic.
Yeah.
So we got a little excited. So moving on to water absorption. The maximum water content of PBT can vary depending on the grade. So we said that from 0.01 to 0.1 to 1%. Some of them have 0.3. Some of them have 0.5. It's completely different for each manufacturer and depending on the PBT. So there are different grades. I'm not overly familiar with all the grades, but I do know that the more expensive the grade, the better that quality is. So often range, went through there. It's crucial to refer. So you can also ask your manufacturer or the company that you're purchasing products from for their safety data sheets and any technical data related to it, which is also a great idea for you to have, in your company. So if we move on to comparing natural lashes to synthetic PBT lashes, natural lashes are part of the human body. It's composed of keratin. It's a protein. When you think of natural lashes, basically it's growing from the inside out. You have this follicle, and down within it, you have this keratin structure that builds on the way out, and that creates your natural lashes. And then, of course, you have a lash cycle. With synthetic lashes, they can last just as long as your natural lashes, just depending on how that bond and that retention is, right?
So I have a question.
Yes.
So I remember one time you brought up about how the lashes, instead of PBT, it was made of mink. And that just blows my mind.
Yes.
Putting mink on your eyes to me just doesn't sound right.
So this is probably like 10 years ago when this first came to be. It was really trending, and a lot of people were paying a whole lot of extra money to have authentic mink on their lashes. So it actually, like, the cats are not harmed during that process, but it did create ethical issues as well as allergy issues. Because think about it, anybody with like allergies,
any kind of fur,
yeah,
putting that on your eyes.
And why, right? Like, why?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm wondering. Why?
But I'm actually not sure if there's any companies out there that still sell authentic mink, and I'm curious to know. So if you know, drop a comment below.
I would love to know if you can elaborate on why mink and if it's still a thing.
So we have porosity. It's a concept more relevant to natural hair and lashes and is less applicable to synthetic lashes. So when you think about porosity, you think about a sponge, right? A sponge has all of these little pores in it. It's able to take on and absorb things. Whereas if you think about this tray right here, this is a solid, and if I put that in water, it's not going to absorb a whole much. It's not going to absorb much at all. So natural lashes are porous, allowing them to absorb and retain moisture, while PBT is generally non-porous, and it's hydrophobic. So hydrophobic means that it's afraid of water. It doesn't like water. The pH of natural lashes and synthetic lashes made from PBT falls within the mildly acidic to neutral range. On the pH of natural lashes and synthetic lashes made. That doesn't make sense there. The pH of natural lashes falls within the mildly acidic to neutral range. Okay, that's fine. Speaking of pH, you probably hear me talk a lot about that. Natural lashes, including eyelashes, like we said, it's mildly acidic to neutral. Maintaining this balance is crucial for lash health. Cyanoacrylate lash glues have a slightly more alkaline. So on that pH, we've got neutral where water is. We've got natural lashes that are slightly more acidic. And then we have these synthetic lashes up here. So when lashes, whether it's natural or synthetic, are more alkaline rather than neutral or acidic, when they're more alkaline, those lashes are able to cure quicker and create more of a bond because of the porosity.
Because of added moisture. So it's
So if you think about the sponge as a porous lash, you've got all these little pockets there, all these little holes to be able to have moisture in there and for the cyanoacrylate to come in through, create more. You're able to add more adhesive and be able to put lashes on it and create a stronger bond because of that. pH balance of cosmetic products is also important, and using products within the appropriate pH range is recommended. So to ensure optimal bonding, high quality PBT lashes that maintain their curl and resist UV degradation are recommended. Consistent priming with a product like Hydroprime, which has a high pH and lacks alcohol, because what do we know about the traditional primers that contain alcohol?
Well, I know that looking at the ingredients, most of them don't have any hydrating properties in it. Most of it is like alcohol, which would likely just dry out your lashes instead of add moisture to them, which would probably have a huge role in retention.
Exactly.
In our primer, we incorporate an ingredient that's called glycerin, which is a humectant. And so it just draws in moisture to the lash.
Exactly. So like difference between using a humectant and using water. And water is just going to actually dehydrate it. And glycerin creates a barrier, allows that moisture to stay into that lash. And then when you're going through doing your lashes, at least you know those lashes are hydrated so that you're going to have good retention, especially if you're speedy and you're a master lash artist like this course is aimed at. So looking at the main points here and just the conclusion of this, if you're a lash artist and you would like to enhance your education and excel in this area and grow in the industry, then I highly recommend that you take our course, the Master Lash class. As well, if you are a trainer or looking to be a trainer, or you're interested in manufacturing products and importing them, this course covers so much information that is so valuable. Like you see, this is just a little introduction to what we cover, and we really get behind the science of it all and discuss it and try to understand it together. So a few takeaways from this would be that you use a specialized alkaline primer that hydrates the lashes for your synthetic lashes because they are not porous, they do not have a pH, and you need to make that optimum for that cyanoacrylate adhesive. And right now, when we're using lashes, it's not that way. So by adding moisture and creating an alkaline environment for that cyanoacrylate, that's going to give you so much better retention. The second thing would be to determine whether or not your client needs a certain primer. Primers, generally, the point of it is to open up that cuticle and to create moisture. But some clients may not need that cuticle opened up because they already get lashes so often and they have chemical treatments or whatnot. So being able to understand that is definitely important. And then what else would there be? Number 3, I'm trying to think. The alcohol. So throw the alcohol away. We don't need to be drying out people's lashes. That's an old, like traditional way of priming. And that's not what we're actually looking for. With a primer, we are looking to increase the pH. So it's alkaline. So the cuticles open up. And we are looking to hydrate the lashes. Now, I am speaking from a master lash artist, and I am speaking to master lash artists. If you are a new lash artist, I do not recommend that you try to speed things up because you're not going to be able to apply the lash quickly as you need to. But this is my recommendations for master lash artists. Good.